Hello friends, welcome to my first ever lo-fi painting session. I'm Scrain, my pronouns are he, him, and this is obviously the Scrain Games YouTube channel. I want to start this series as something that's nice and low-key and relaxing, something that you can keep on in the background while you work or do your own hobby projects. I of course am going to be here painting and talking a little bit into the mic about my process and maybe even just how my day is going. I hope that you can use this to take some time and paint for yourself as well. For the first minis I want to paint on these lo-fi sessions, I want to do the Night Haunts from the Tempest of Souls starter set. This was the first box of minis I've ever purchased, and if you're familiar at all with the Scrain Games stream over on Twitch, you've probably seen me paint up some Stormcast Eternals. In fact, the first 15 minis I ever painted are from that Tempest of Souls starter set for Age of Sigmar. I've only ever done the Stormcast Eternal side, and I figured that for these lo-fi painting sessions, I could go back to the beginning and paint up the Night Haunt side of it. The first paint I'm going to be painting from this set is the Glavewraith Stalker. They seem like the perfect mix of interesting and complicated, but not too complicated. He's going to help me really understand what I want to make this side of the army, how I want to style them, and how I want them to look. It seems like it could be something really fun and interesting, and I hope that you are interested enough, or at least you think it's something that you might want to watch. I'm very new to miniature painting. As I said, that Tempest of Souls starter set was the first 15 miniatures I've ever painted. I haven't gotten too far beyond that just yet either. I started back in April 2021. As you might have guessed, I picked it up as a little bit of a pandemic hobby. So you might notice I'm pretty new to it, and there's a lot of room for improvement, but I don't think I'm terrible. That said, I'm always open to ways I can improve. If you have any suggestions or any thoughts on how they look, just let me know down in the comments. I'm always interested to see what you think, and hey, if you have anything to share, any minis that you're working on while you're watching this, go ahead and join my Discord. There's going to be a link down in the description, and well, I hope that to see you there, and maybe on one of these videos I can show off some of the pictures that you share. With that said, let's go ahead and get into it. If you have any paints of your own, any miniatures, feel free to pick them up and come paint along with me.
Okay, friends, let's go ahead and get ourselves started with this, shall we? So this is going to be kind of what they're going to look like here. You can kind of see Glavewraith Stalkers. But I think instead of the blue, what I might try and do with him is maybe go for a little bit for purple underneath. I kind of been enjoying the idea of a Pokemon theme with these, and when I think of Pokemon and Ghost, I like to think of Haunter and Ghastly and all of those friends. So let's go ahead this up onto my hobby holder here. We can go ahead and get started with this. So I have my 3 brushes here. I have this one's just a general Citadel, not even Citadel, it's just not a great brush, but I use this one to transfer paint from the pots to my wet palette here. And I have these two. I have my number 2 and my number 0. Number 2 is going to be what I'm using for the most part. And this number 0 down here, I'm going to be going ahead and using this as my details brush, should I need it. So, let's go ahead and get this started then. Okay, so yeah, we're going to start off with this Mechanicus Standard Gray here. And we can go from there and see how that ends up looking. So this is a brand new pot. I haven't opened this one yet. And this is a gray that I haven't worked with either. So let's pop this open. I'm just gonna go ahead and get some of this right off this top area here. I'm just gonna put that right down here. Get a decent amount. I want to get a decent amount of this palette here. Just like that. Perfect. Gotta rinse this brush off real good. And then what I'm gonna also do is I'm gonna add a little bit of this Vallejo Black to this. Just in case we want to get a slightly darker gray on there. I want to see how this is gonna look. So I am using a wet palette here just because I like to keep the paints nice and moist, especially when I'm going to go ahead and be thinning them out. So let's start off with this number 2 brush, and we're going to use this gray to really try and attack the cloak. And I want to keep this a nice, real thin layer, try and preserve a decent amount of this zenithal prime we got going on. So let's see how this looks here, especially as a thin layer. I think that's going to work out pretty nice for me. So again, this is thin, might be a little bit too thin. Let's go ahead and get a little bit more on there. So I'm just kind of trying this out on the white, see how it kind of looks here. And again, this is kind of like the white side, so we're gonna really kind of try and get a nice little glow going on this later. That's the plan. So it's gonna be kind of like white at the bottom, black at the top, and then we're going to really try and like get some like a purple glowing from the ground, and we'll see if we can even get a little bit of a base effect going with that. So just keeping this pretty thin again right now. We're just really gonna try and get down here. Gonna get this gray all over the mini where it's needed. And then we can even tackle some of the whites down there later with some of the more pure white color there. Saying that's not diluted and that's not quite gray. Let's even just go ahead and zoom in so you can get a better look at what I'm doing here. And you know, let's go ahead. There we are. That looks better. That looks much better, no? So now let's go ahead and just a decent amount of this onto here. And if we flip this over, and now we just want to get as much as we can. And I'm trying to do this again pretty thin. I don't want to really glob this on because I don't want to lose some of the finer details, especially in the zenithal prime. Because this is the first paint on here and probably the one that's going to be most prominent, or at least the most used, we don't really need to worry too much. I don't think about overspray. This is a gray. A lot of people use gray as a primer anyway, so a nice neutral color like this, we should be fine. We should be absolutely fine with this. Oh. Sorry folks, didn't mean to do that off camera. Oof. All right. So you can kind of see the difference here between what it looks like with the undercoats even, which I find really interesting. Now we can just kind of like go like this. Trying to keep it a little bit thinner. Don't want to get too much onto here, and even just want to water this down just a little bit here. There we go, so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. There we are. I want to make sure it's like pretty dark up top here, so that's kind of where I'm trying to focus the paint. I'm not too worried if the whiter stuff remains down below. What we're going to do is just kind of thin it out a little bit more. kind of like almost glaze this base paint on down here. Alright, and it doesn't even need to be perfect right now, because I think the zenithal is going to do a lot for us here. What I even should be doing, I don't know. What I think I'm going to do even is I'm going to go ahead and pull this apart. So one thing I do like to do with these starter set minis, and these easy to assemble ones, is I like to go ahead and actually paint these in sub-assembly. And that's what I did with a lot of my Stormcasts. I feel like I should do that with this as well. So let's go ahead and give that a shot, shall we? And by the way, friends, I apologize for touching my face so much right now. Oh my god, these bright lights just in my face right now. It's drying my eyes out. Ooh. Alright, so let's see if we can't do this. Pull this apart real fast. So you can kind of see it's got the seam here at the top, right? I'm just going to go ahead and see what happens if I just poke at that just a little bit. As I'm approaching it from here is because, one, this is just kind of like the clearest seam. Two, this mini is so fragile at the bottom here. It's really only supported by this little bit right here. I just don't want to, I don't want to like risk breaking it off. Little bit like right there. Should just be able to pull this apart. Just gotta remember where, because there's this seam I should be able to just follow, and then there are pegs inside of this boy. I can feel it coming apart. You can kind of see it coming apart too. So we are almost there. And what doing this is going to allow is it's going to let me really get the inside areas nice and base painted as well. So we can get all the details that we wanted right up in there. There we go, perfect. And get these inside areas and not have to worry too much how that, about moving the mini around or anything being in the way. So we get a nice unobstructed view here. Beautiful. Would you look at that? So now, you can absolutely go ahead and get right inside here. So let's go ahead. Some of that. You can kind of see where the primer got in, and this even had like a slight bluish undercoat to it, just because of the color of the plastic. I should like a little bit of that shows. It's not the worst. Not for what we're aiming for anyway. Because this is on the inside, so go ahead and add just a little bit of this darkness here. Kind of like darken up our gray a wee bit. You can see just how thin this paint is right now too. This might be a little bit too thin, but we're gonna play around with it. A little bit too much on the brush there, I think. There we go. As I said in the intro, friends, I'm pretty new at this. So expect to see some mistakes from me for sure. Me doing things in probably an odd, non-traditional way, but that's also perfectly okay. So that's what this is all about, honestly. It's just a decent amount of learning for us. If you're new at mini painting, or you're wondering how to get started, this is absolutely the best way to get started, which is to say, the best way to get started is to just start and just do. Make mistakes and learn as you go along. your first mini is never going to be your best mini. But looking back at my first mini, it's definitely something I remember fondly. Look at that. So it's in there. Got that little bit gray on the inside. It's a little bit darker, which is what I wanted because it's naturally, you know, the shadow on the inside. We can also pick up this friend right here. We're gonna do very much the same. So this nice darker color on the inside. Just gonna try and get here, and you can kind of even see, like, it's not gonna matter too much. As it stands, the primer didn't get much in here. I don't think too many people can be looking at the inside. But it's nice for my own peace of mind to know that it's in there. And if someone was to like look real closely, they would see that this friend has been painted on the inside. And it's just good peace of mind. As it is, there really isn't even much to paint on this inside here. Unlike the Stormcast Eternals, I don't feel too guilty because there isn't like too much in the way. Yes, I'm not exactly like worried about it either. We're just gonna get this gray in here. And I know gray is a boring color to start with, but it's gonna provide us a nice little base that we can kind of go off of from here. So this is pretty wet. Whoop. You're gonna see that a lot for me, just me accidentally dropping things. That happens. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Let's go get a little bit more up top. Alright, because we just want to get this slightly darker color up top. Now it's not gonna be really black up here, but it's gonna be dark compared to what it'll be down there. That's just going to be a good way for us to get the blending started on this too. This nice darker color right up here. That way later on when we go to do the highlights, we can kind of see how it's supposed to look. Let's go ahead and look right back over here as well. We're just going to get some of this darker color right up here. This was the side that had all that white on it from earlier too. So this is where like really kind of playing with that darker color up top is, I think, really going to start to pay off some dividends for us. I'm going to just darken this up a little, or not darken, but get this paint to be slightly wetter on here. Okay, here we go. This is pretty wet. I just want to like get this on here like this. Alright, and there, make sure it gets nice on the inside of these little crevices right here. Kind of like that. I think you can also kind of see that he's got this little like almost tombstone thing that he's coming out of. So I want to go ahead and get this to be nice and gray as well, almost like that's just going to be a stone that he's coming out of. And we're going to hit that up later to give that like a nice little glow effect. When it gets to the highlighting stage, that's going to be like right towards the end. So we're going to add some really cool effects to this. I guess that's the plan anyway. We'll see how it comes out. That's what I'm thinking. Right down there. I know we are painting gray over black and white. That's okay. That's okay. This is gonna start to come together just a little bit. Just you trust me, friends. Look at that. I think that's pretty alright there, in my opinion. Just to get us started here. And then, what I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and get a little bit of this white onto this palette as well. So this right here is just Vallejo white. I really like these Vallejo colors. I'm a fan of the Vallejo blacks and whites. I don't know if y'all have used the Citadel whites and blacks, but they're iffy for me. They're a little bit touch and go. Oh, drop the brush there. Just wanna wipe this brush down real fast. So these brushes I use for my base paints, like, they aren't my best brushes. That's okay. That's kind of why I use them for my base paints. So we're just gonna kind of mix this gray in with this white here. We're just gonna kind of brighten this up here a decent amount. And what we're gonna do with this, okay? So we're just gonna go ahead and kind of touch up right down here, just a little bit. Give us like that nice little beginning of a blend that we're gonna reinforce in the highlights. And you can kind of see I'm stroking down because I want the brightest parts, the parts that are gonna be more white, to be towards the bottom. This is gonna be kind of my way of like getting the paint to collect down there. Just getting the side of the brush even on here, not even just the tip. I'm gonna darken this up just a little bit now because we're getting a little bit higher up. Just gonna kind of like, it's not quite a dry brush, but like medium dampness brush. We're just gonna kind of really try and hit this cloth like right about here with this. So you can kind of start to see that effect coming in now. It's really starting to show, which is nice. It's what I'm looking for. A little bit more on here, and we're going to see how it looks. Yeah, let's get a little bit more water up onto here. A little bit more of this white. We're just gonna, ooh, that's a lot of water. That's okay. We're just gonna blend this in real fast. Kind of like that. We can just mix it up a little bit down here. Yeah, just a smidge more white. Yeah, we're just gonna kind of get a little bit off on the towel there. We're just gonna make sure it gets nice and concentrated, like right about down there. I want to get the edges, that way these are nice and white and kind of match what we're going for here. I'll tell y'all right now, these Night Haunt, I'm like really nervous just kind of holding these the way that they're designed. Like, it just feels like they're fragile. Like they're just kind of hanging on by like these small little bits. Now, it's not a lot of plastic here, so that just kind of makes me decently nervous. A little bit more white. Just a little bit brighter here. And we don't want to go pure white on anything here, because like very little is going to be pure white. So just kind of like making sure we're just attacking these edges here with this. I think can really go ahead and emphasize what I'm going for. Alright, does that look good to y'all? I think that looks good to me. that edge right here, a little bit like right here. There we go. So you can start to see some of that definition is coming in now, and it really just kind of looks like a decently taken like black and white photo. And almost like a haunting one. So what we're gonna start to do with this even is pretty soon we're gonna be able to, let's get a little bit more water up onto this. We're gonna start to add some color to this pretty soon. When that happens, it's gonna be like just making sure that it's touches of color, but not too much color. That way, it'll really kind of stand out for us. Get that a little bit of the darker color back in again. I'm just gonna mix up like right about here. It's gonna get us there. If any of you are working on any projects, especially while listening to this, please make sure to share them. Share anything that you're working on in comments, or go ahead and check out my Discord channel. Link will be down in the description. I would love to see what all of you are working on right now. Maybe even share some of it here on the channel later. Love to see what it is that you're doing. Especially if it was done while you were listening to this. Just a little bit of this white. I'm just gonna be very, very gentle with this one here. Not too much, but like a little bit like right about here. Right. Now we can go back to that darker color and start to really kind of bring that down. Or at least, no. I'm gonna blend that darker gray like right about there. Let's get a little bit more of this color right up here, this nice darker one we were looking at before. And reinforce right about there. Get us where we want it to be. Like that. There we go. Not too bright, not too dark. So we can always darken it up a little bit later. But I think this is gonna something good to start off with on this piece. Alright, you can kind of start to repeat that process here. So let's go ahead and wipe that off. And we're just going to go ahead and kind of a slightly brighter color, like right about here, and we're going to start to go down like that. There we go. Just bring this down nicely. And this part, I'm just kind of like attacking the side of the brush here. So what that's going to do is that's going to hit like mostly where things are raised up. Really kind of let me hit the important areas with this brighter color. It's going to act like as something that we can base a highlight off of later. Just going to get like right down there real fast. You can kind of see how that's looking right now. And, yeah, it's not perfect. It's kind of a little bit blotchy right now, but that's okay actually. Again, this is all just base paints. This isn't going to be the finished product. It's going to give us something that we can start our highlight off with here. A little bit more of this lighter color. I'm just going to kind of like get some of those highlights right here with it. So I think this will help things stand out a little bit more when I come back with the wash later. So what I'm thinking I might try to do with this is if I wash this in purple, I think that's gonna like really stand out on the areas where I have this white undercoat highlight. It might give me like a pretty cool, almost glow effect. You know, almost like it's glowing with that purple. I think that's the plan anyway. We can just kind of like test that out. I'm just gonna get a little bit of this like brighter gray right up into here. Down this inside area here. Just like that. There we go. I think that's gonna work out for me. Just go ahead and get like a little bit like right up here with this as well. I am going pretty light on this. Just kind of really only trying to hit these raised areas as much as I can. I think that's pretty good. I think I'm a fan of that. So let's go ahead. This. Alright, so let's go ahead and glue this together. And I think the best way to do that is I'm going to use some of this glue right here. And what I would like to do is just cut off these two areas right here. We don't really need to get too much in here now. I just wanted to make sure I was getting in here. So I'm just going to cut off these little sprues right here. Best we can. We don't need these right now. And hopefully this works out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and glue this together. The best way for me to do that is we're going to just apply a little bit of glue to these holes right here. Apply a little bit to these edges as well. So what that should hopefully do is that should create a really nice seal and should hopefully hide the seams decently well for us. Alright, so it goes like that. Just press this together now. Just like that. If we hold this for just a few seconds, this type of glue, it just comes together real fast for us, right? There, now it should be fully glued together. Not sure, you can still see that seam, but that's okay. It's not like far apart. There we go. Now we can start to move on to some of the other colors for this, I think. So I think we gave ourselves enough of a base coat that we get an idea of where we're going for this. So next up, let's go ahead and give ourselves some of this Ushabti bone. We're gonna start off with this friend right here. There we go. Go ahead and just get this. Sometimes it can be a little hard to get out of these pots with these dropper tops here. Kind of see them struggling just a little bit, but that's okay. Sometimes things are a bit of a struggle, sometimes they're just real easy. You never really know. And here in there. There we go, starting to come out. Starting to get there. Getting a little bit up onto here. I might need some Ushabti bone soon. There we go. You don't need too much of this. That should be enough for us. Perfect. Rotate this so you can see what I'm working with. What we're going to do is we're going to put this color right onto that bone, right up there. It's a nice bony little vulture face. For this one I think I'm going to use number 0 brush because this is a pretty small area for me. So let's go ahead. Get a nice thin coat up onto here. It's not going to be too bright. Let's get right up there with them. This is something that we're going to darken with our shade in a little bit. This should give us a something nice to start off with. Up just a little bit right there. Perfect. So you can kind of start to see that face is coming in, and there's just that little extra bit of like, it's not even that much color, but just seeing that face start to come in like this, you can really kind of start to get an idea of what this is going to look like. Out near the purple glow on him even. Seeing this alone would terrify me. Yeah. Excellent. Right up top on his head, right here. This as well. You can kind of see, like, even where the zenithal is kind of starting to shine through on this. Just on the face, there's that clear difference in that undercoat, and I think that really helps things here. perfect right there. I think I quite like that. I like that quite a bit. Now what I kind of want to tackle is some of this brown. What I have for that is a little bit of this Mornfang brown here. We can go ahead and use that on the hilt right about there. And I'm going to do that before I try and tackle the hands, I think. I like to go from what's going to require the most paint to what's going to require the least. Let's go ahead and give this friend a nice shake real fast. Perfect, I think that's pretty well shaken up. I'm just going to go ahead and take a little bit of this. Extract it from the pot. I'm going to put it like right down there. Alright, we don't need too much. I want this to be like a dark brown. This isn't like a new tree or anything. It's going to be something that's going to look pretty gnarly, I think, at the end. So we're just going to add a little bit of black to this. Just a small amount. I'm just going to mix this up here. Just going to have a little bit of warmth from this brown, but then at the same time, should be a pretty dark color for us. So let's just go ahead and get this up on here.
There is no space for this broken body.
Like this, and I want to be careful to not get this onto the cloak that we've been working on.
Turn off your phone and come looking for me. Let's do an IRL hide and seek. I need some downtime. I disappear into the shadows. I'll be facing all my fears. I'll take a break away from you. From all lies now, I'll be looking for the truth.
I like this quite a bit. And you can still kind of see that undercoat there, but I think that's
Don't call me, I'll be far away from you.
really want to make sure I get paying attention to the details here, making sure that I'm hitting
Some
everything.
downtime, I disappear into the shadows. I'll be facing all my fears.
So around, go to the other side, and you kind of see a little bit on this underside here that I also want to go ahead and make sure I'm hitting.
From
Go
all
right
lies now, I'll be
in here,
looking
just very, very carefully. A hair or something? Yeah, it was just a little piece of hair or lint or something stuck to the stats. So I just want to take that off so it doesn't like get embedded in the paint somehow. There we go. Again, this isn't a how-to guide, by the way. You are all... If you happen to have the exact same mini and you're working on this, enjoy whatever colors you feel like. I'm sticking relatively close, I think, to the Games Workshop colors, except I'm going to start messing around with the purples later on. So one thing that Games Workshop recommends is using a paint called Nighthawk Blue. It's a technical paint, but it should give a nice ethereal blue looking color to things. But I kind of want to try messing around with the purples just a little bit. I think that's going to give me something fun to play around with later. There we go. you can kind of see the difference even between this brown and then the brown over here, because this is where the brighter undercoat was, and that I think really emphasizes how much of a difference the primer you use can make. I think that's actually pretty interesting. I think being, you know, even just a little bit more complicated with how I put this on really made, it's gonna hopefully make a difference in the finished product. Now I want to go ahead and try something with these hands on him. So you can kind of see he has his hand right here and his hand like right here. So I almost wonder what would happen, because I want to paint these hands white, right? I'm wondering what would happen if I went ahead and hit that with a purple contrast. What I have right here is this, or sorry, not purple contrast. I wanted to see what would happen if I hit it with a white contrast, because that's what I want this to be, right? I want this to be like a nice white color. So what happens if I hit that with the white contrast? So we're just gonna shake this up. I've never used this contrast paint before. I'm just gonna pop this open real fast. I'm gonna try and like pull just straight from the pot here. I don't need to drop the contrast onto my wet palette, I don't think. Or at least like not too much. We're just gonna put this like right here. What happens if I just do this? I'm just gonna get you like right there, so you kind of end up in the crevices. Is this gonna give me the effect that I want, or should I just go straight for the white paint only? Yeah, I might just want to only go for this white paint here. I think playing with this contrast the way that I am, I think because I did that reverse zenithal prime on this, it's actually not going to work out the way that I wanted it to. That's okay. That said, might get decent effect if I just kind of like mess around with this down here just a little bit more. It's kind of like that. So I'm not too used to the contrast paints. I haven't really used them too much, and I was hoping I could play around with that a little bit here. I still have an idea for how I am going to incorporate at least one contrast paint into this later. But I think that's not what I'm going to do immediately. Alright, that's okay. So let's go ahead, put that away for now. We're just going to go back to this white paint that I had right up here. I'm going to continue to stick with this number 0. And it's just going to be this white that we're going to mix in like right here. It's the smallest amount of this gray on here. We really don't want a lot, but we don't want to do a pure white, I don't think. I don't think that's the best, because like pure white can be a little bit more finicky, but a bright gray, or dare I say an off-white, I feel like that's pretty aces. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this again. Yep, it's a bit too thick for me. There we go, let's thin that out. I think that's gonna get me about what I want there. See, what I was hoping for was like, because this is a relatively textured area on the mini, some of the contrast would help things stand out just a little bit better, but it's not quite the way I want it to be. We're just gonna hit this with some of this off-white here. I'm gonna use a much cleaner white later on. Really try and emphasize some of this, especially in the highlight stage of this, but for now, go like this. I'll get this on right about here. way, if y'all see anything I'm doing and you have any tips or suggestions for me, please let me know. I am very, very open to learning. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions on ways that I can improve here. Doing with this friend right now is we're just kind of getting this white base paint on for the hands. Maybe something nice to work with, and that's giving me some real good contrast against the gray. And I think I'm even going to use like a very light purple wash later, because we do want to get like a purple glow going. I think adding that wash is going to kind of be how we're going to start to set that up. Make it look real nice later on. Kind of like that. I think that's looking pretty good right now. You can really start to see now the difference in like where we started and where we are right now. I think you can really kind of start to see some of this progress on here. It's making me pretty happy. Because earlier when we were just messing around with the gray, I was starting to get a little bit worried. We weren't necessarily seeing the progress that I wanted, but now I think we're starting to actually kind of get somewhere. Even just kind of like hit up a little bit, like right down here. Oh, it's still pretty dry. Just gonna kind of like go like this. Almost dry brush it, but not quite. Right here on these edges. This off-white. Kind of give us someplace good to start off with. I think this will even help when we apply the washes, help things stand out a little bit more later on. I think that's kind of what I'm looking for. You know, it's going to be like almost a lot of very desaturated colors, and I'm just going to have those splashes of actual color on here. I think that's going to make genuinely all the difference. Inside area looking real good. I'm gonna really have to clean this brush off after, because I can kind of feel just the white paint starting to dry on there. There we go. So that's gonna add even just a little bit more moisture right here, which is good. Is what I'm kind of looking for. Now when I apply it right here, that little bit on this brush here. I don't like using the smaller brush too much, because I feel like using smaller brushes, the paint dries on them a lot faster, so it's a lot harder to control. That said, occasionally you can get like some decent stuff on it. That's pretty nice right here. Just a little bit more of this right here, right up here onto the hand. There we go. That's pretty nice. Now, the the idea that I had is I can use a little bit of this contrast paint that I have. It's just a little bit of the shyish purple, right? I don't want to be shy with this one, I don't want to be too shy with this paint. I'm gonna use just a little bit down here. Because you can kind of see that it has like this little flame texture. So I'm wondering what happens if I use just a little bit of this contrast paint down at the very bottom to kind of look like the base of a flame. Alright, so let's just go ahead and get a little bit of this up onto the palette. We're going to get a little bit right here. We don't need too much. Just going to kind of really just very gently get like some right here. We're going to kind of treat this like a decent amount of a wash. Right. Almost there. Give us kind of like that basic part of this little flame area right down here. And like it looks like there's even just something growing on the stone, so I want to get a little bit of that onto it too. Right. Nothing too much, nothing too drastic. I think just getting that a little bit like right there is really gonna kind of help set us off where we want to be on this. Start to bring up a lot more later with some highlights. There we are. I think that's pretty nice. What do you all think? I think that's pretty good. Is just that little bit of purple down there, and that's going to be where we're going to like start off with for highlighting later. A little bit like right there, and it's not bright right now. It is not super bright, and that's good. That's pretty intentional. To be, I'm going to be perfectly honest. It's going to give us something nice, just a little bit like right here, I think. I'm even just using this contrast paint like very, very thinly. I don't want to go like too crazy with this. It's all going to give us something that we can really start to play around with later. Kind of like that. So I know contrast paints, you're really supposed to group these friends on, but I want to try something a little bit different. Maybe I should have just used a purple wash, but I think just kind of starting off here gonna give us at least a decent place to go later on. There we are. I think that's pretty good. Okay. Lastly, let's go ahead and try and tackle this blade here. So, with my metallics, I like to have a third water pot that is reserved just for metallic paints. And then I also have these brushes right here, which are my synthetic brushes that I use exclusively for metallics as well. Just to make sure I'm not like really damaging any brushes along the way. You know how it is. So this, I think, is going to be a really just kind of rusted blade on here. I don't want... So normally I would almost consider going for lead belcher to begin with, but because I want to make sure this gets a real kind of dark and gnarly and little rusted look to it, I'm going to start off with the Warblock Bronze. We can kind of move in from there. We're going to use this to kind of like start to brighten things up as we go. You can kind of see how that looks right there. That's just going to be where we're starting off with. We're going to get this to look bronze, and we're going to start to, as we progress, get it brighter, and then kind of like hit the edges, almost dry brush the edges a bit with a more iron look later on. And hopefully that's going to kind of like give us that rust look that we're looking for. There we go. And you can kind of see it's starting to come up pretty thin. I'm not like hitting this with too much paint to begin with. Again, I kind of still want to preserve a little bit of the zenithal even with these metallics. Just gonna get underneath as well. Make sure that we're attacking all of this as much as we can. I think that's pretty nice. Kind of hit this with the edge, or the, sorry, not the edge, but the flat of the paint brush. Just kind of make sure it looks nice and smooth as it goes on. Gonna give that just a little bit of a second to dry. Gonna give it another layer, I think. That's going on honestly a little bit too thin for me. I don't know why. This bronze, it's a paint. It's not a contrast, so it shouldn't really be as thin as it is. I might have watered it down just a little bit too much for my taste, but we'll see. Got missed, I think. There we are. And on this side, I mean, yeah, this side looks fine. There we go. I think that's starting to look pretty much exactly how I want it for a really nice base paint here. Then we're going to start to brighten that up in a hot minute. That said, I think this is a pretty decent spot for us to leave off for today. I don't want to keep y'all here too long, and I think this is pretty comfortable length pretty comfortable length of video for all of you. So here's where he is right now. We've used just a few colors, and I hope this was enough. And then we can pick this up again on the next video, our next lo-fi painting session. Yeah, this is pretty good. So we have this Ushabti bone right there. We have a little bit of that Warplock bronze. We have some nice whites. We have some blacks and grays. There's a little bit of this dark purple down here. Something that's really going to kind of start to give us a good base that we can start to pick up off of later on. I even just kind of so a little bit more of this. We're just going to kind of get this tip right here, right where that gray is. A little bit of like whatever this moss is down here as well. I think that's pretty nice. I think that's, all in all, I'm not gonna lie, a pretty decent place for us to leave off. Yeah, there we go. That hits up everything that I really care about here. So one thing that I am going to do to leave us off, I'm going to put you right here so y'all can see where everything left off for now. But one thing I always like to do at the end of all my painting sessions, just kind of as a nice meditative step here, so I like to go ahead and give my paints a nice, or my brushes, a nice little wash. So I'm just going to start off right here. This little brush, this is one that I use to get some of the waters, or some of the paints up onto the palette. I like to give these guys, almost just a quiet little thank you as I do this. These brushes serve me well. Just getting this little bit of brush cleaner here, just in case you're curious about what I'm using. This stuff, the Masters. Let's go ahead and use this as much as I can. Just get it all up into here. Make sure that this gets nice and clean. Perfect. So now, with all the soap on it, I can go ahead and give this a real good rinse off. And then just get a quick little once over in here. Just twist this to get excess water off. Leave a little bit of the conditioner on. We aren't rinsing all the conditioner off. That helps preserve this for later. Next up, we're going to do our number 2 here. This is the one that we use mostly for our grays, to get all of the gray and white on there. I think that was really, really useful to me. Just help get a lot on at a time, but still at enough of a point that we're able to get like some relatively fine detail. There we go. Perfect. And lastly, we're going to go ahead, or not lastly, actually, we still have that one to go, but I like to do this before I move on to the metallics, because I don't want to mix my metallics in with anything else as much as I can. I want to make sure that those stay pretty separate, because I don't want metal flakes hitting the rest of the paints. There we go. It's pretty good right there. Kind of see the purple getting in there from the contrast paint, and that's perfectly okay. Just one more little rinse off, make sure I got everything out of this, because it's really possible for these paints to end up in the ferrule on this. I really don't like that. So there we go. Okay, just a quick little rinse, and I can put that back. And now we can get to our last paintbrush here. Was this number 3 synthetic, which I use for my metallics. And there we go. A bit more of this. Get it all up in there. Make sure everything comes out. And now I can give this a good rinse in my cup. Get all that paint out that we don't like. Wonderful. Just a quick little twist. Get that last bit out. Wonderful. And now we can go ahead and call that a stream.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you really enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed painting that, and well, we'll see how we go for the next session, how much further we get on this mini. I think we made some pretty decent progress, just getting those base paints down and kind of really figuring out how we want those colors to look. Until the next lo-fi painting session, this was Screen Games, and remember to be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other, and be kind to the planet. I'll see you next time. Peace out.